Hey, let's start with a confession. If something breaks in your house, a pipe, a fuse, a garage door, I'm not your guy. I'll look at it, maybe squint a little, and then I'll Google it. But I almost always end up calling someone who actually knows what they're doing. Why? Well, because I'm ignorant when it comes to fixing things. And that's not an insult, it's just the truth. In this session, I'm going to talk about the danger of ignoring your child's ignorance when it comes to leadership.
Welcome to another edition of Kid Lead Academy Training Series with Dr. Alan E. Nelson, designed to help parents develop their children to lead so they can succeed. And now, here's Alan.
So there's a difference between being ignorant and ignoring. Ignorance is a condition. It means you don't know yet. But to ignore, well, that's a choice. See, ignorance is passive, ignoring is active. When it comes to leadership in kids, most parents ignore the risk of their ignorance in this area. This podcast is designed to warn you about this oversight. So when it comes to kids understanding how leadership works, I'm not here to blame, shame, or make anyone feel less than. Quite the opposite. Actually, I'm here to shine a light on an area that most kids and many parents simply haven't thought much about: how leadership works and how we can help our kids grow in it from the early age. Let's explore the risks that come from both sides of the equation: kids who are ignorant of leadership and parents who ignore the opportunity to nurture it. Here are 5 things that often happen when a child doesn't understand what leadership is or how it works. Number 1, they follow the wrong people. If they don't know what healthy leadership looks like, they'll follow whoever is loudest or most popular, even if that person lacks character. For example, a 7th grader becomes a classroom ringleader because they're funny and assertive, but uses that influence to mock others. Peers follow, not because it's right, but because it's dominant. A Harvard study found that middle schoolers are more influenced by perceived popularity than character, unless explicitly taught leadership values. A second thing is they miss opportunities to lead. Without the confidence or awareness, they hang back, not because they're incapable, but because they don't recognize the moment. For example, during a group science project, a shy but insightful student lets others lead because they don't realize that asking good questions is actually a form of leadership. A third thing is they get picked on. Understanding how leadership works elevates a child's social status, whether or not they ever lead. Having low social status makes them vulnerable to being bullied, overlooked in social activities, and left out of conversations. 4, they fail to learn conflict management and negotiation skills. You see, conflict and feedback are part of leadership, but without the skills, they retreat or react emotionally. Leadership involves expressing your ideas and selling them to others. It's about influence. For example, 2 kids argue over who gets credit in a group project. A child who hasn't developed conflict resolution skills either shuts down or explodes. Castle reports that children who develop SEL skills are 42% less likely to engage in aggressive or defiant behavior. And a 4th thing is they tend to stay short-sighted. You see, leaders think beyond today. They think about people, consequences, and purpose. Ignorance keeps their focus small. A teen decides not to run for student council because no one cares, not seeing how it could help shape the school culture, develop their skills, or even lead to scholarships. But you see, sometimes it's not neglect, but narratives. Many parents sidestep leadership development for their kids because of assumptions like these. One excuse wrapped up in a reason is, I'm not a leader, so what can I teach my child? Well, it's easy to feel unequipped, especially if you don't see yourself as a leader growing up. But leadership isn't about charisma or rank. It's about habits, influence, and character. You see, the world is filled with great coaches and teachers who develop people stronger and more talented than they are. That's why we created Kid Lead Academy, to teach parents step by step how to develop their children's leadership potential. Another excuse, clothed as a reason, is that, hey, schools, sports, or youth groups will teach them how to lead. The truth is, this rarely happens. Few teachers are trained to lead and have little to no bandwidth in the course of their day to focus on leadership skills. And coaches, well, most of them actually develop followers, not leaders. You see, those environments focus on performance, not organizational skills or people skills. And leadership doesn't happen by osmosis. If you want your child to grow as a leader, you can't outsource it. A third reason-sounding excuse is kids can't really learn leadership. It's something they'll pick up as adults. Well, actually, the opposite is true. Leadership is a skill set that develops best in childhood. Just like language or empathy, the earlier it's nurtured, the deeper it sticks. Since 2005, when I began studying emerging leadership talent and how to develop it, I've become truly amazed at how well 5 to 15-year-olds can learn how leadership works, and many children and youth, they actually lead really well. A longitudinal study from MIT found that early exposure to decision-making and collaborative tasks predicted higher leadership self-efficacy in adulthood, meaning that waiting doesn't help, starting early does. A fourth excuse parents state is that, well, I may be a leader, but I don't know how to teach it, and even if I did, I just don't have time. Well, that's fair. You see, most parents weren't taught how to lead either. But you don't have to make it up. Tools like Kid Lead Academy and Lead Young training curricula exist so that you can walk through it step by step. Plus, because you can do it around the house as part of your daily lives, it doesn't take long segments of time or expensive summer camps. Someone said if you don't know where to start with someone who does. Kid Lead does. And a fifth excuse we hear parents say is, my child just isn't a leader. Well, that's all the more reason to start. You see, throughout history, people ignorant about leadership have ended up being abused by unethical leaders or fallen under the influence of negative voices. On a macro scale, just look at World War II. Throughout history, people who do not understand how leadership works have become vulnerable to evil leaders leading countries, companies, and even families. Kids without natural leadership gifts are more vulnerable to those who have them. Leadership literacy is protection, even for those who don't plan to lead. Hey, we make our kids wear their seatbelts in the car, take their medicine when they're sick, and go to school even when they don't want to. So why are we willing to put them into the world of influence, power, and unethical leaders without the tools and equipment to protect themselves? It doesn't make sense. My point is that kids can learn how leadership works, even if they're not naturally gifted at leading. That's what we've learned interacting with thousands of them since 2005. Even if they never become a strong natural leader, understanding the leadership process is an invaluable skill set. That's why we created Kid Lead Academy, the best parent course. It's the best because it teaches parents how to train their children to develop their leadership potential. We'd like to introduce it to you. If you're curious to know more, click on the link bestparentcourse.com. Plus, we'll give you a free ebook, Raising Leaders, just for checking it out at no risk at all. Hey, we don't expect our kids to know how to fix plumbing. So why would we expect them to know how to lead people? They need guidance, they need coaching, and they need you. You don't have to be a leadership expert. You just need to care enough not to ignore it and courageous enough to walk with them as they learn. Because in the long run, our world doesn't need more smart kids. It needs more young leaders and those who understand how leadership works.